Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the AHA Process webinar series. We'll be starting in 15 minutes. That's 11 o'clock Central Time. So stand by and we'll get started in 15 minutes. Thanks for being here today. Okay, everybody, welcome to the AHA Process webinar series. We offer complimentary webinars on the first and third Thursdays of each month. And today we have Roger Howard and Sharon Jackson talking about the Getting Ahead program in Omaha, Nebraska. Go Huskers, right? The Omaha Bridges Initiative has been alive and well for years, and it's stabilizing individuals and the community. So let me hand it over right now to Roger and Sharon for the webinar entitled Getting Ahead Grows Tenfold in Omaha, Nebraska. Sharon, Roger?
Thank you, Leonard. We appreciate it. Well, welcome everybody and good morning. Welcome to the Omaha Experience, we'll call it. I'm Roger Howard. I'm the full-time volunteer CEO of Omaha Bridges Out of Poverty, which we affectionately refer to as OBOP. it's a little easier for us. Sharon is my cohort and partner in this crime, and she's our program director, my sister, my good friend, and we're really excited about all the good things that are happening thanks to the AHA process and all the great curriculum and support that we have. I'll hate to issue or start a webinar with a disclaimer, but everyone does. So my disclaimer is I was a healthcare consultant for 40 years. And what I learned was that what works in one community may not work in another. But we'll try to share with you today some of our successes, some of our failures, our mistakes. And if some of those specific ideas resonate with you, that's great. So many people have shared so much with us. We're glad to share our growth with you. And if any of that helps you, we're excited about that. You can feel free to contact us at any time. Is that going to advance? Want to advance the slide here. The key to having a successful program is having a great team we know. And we consider that all of you are effectively on our team. There we go. Ah, there we go. And we love having these people on our team. I'm sure you recognize those faces. Ruby Payne and Phil Duvall and Terry and Lynn and Ruth. And we consider them part of our family and on our team. They're probably sorry that we have access to their emails or their cell phones because we call them and rely on them so much. But this is incredible to be able to reach to the top of an organization of this size that I believe serves about 300 communities, and to be able to access these individuals, their expertise, and their encouragement and support. So we really do appreciate that. We like to say at Omaha Bridges Out of Poverty that we stand on the shoulders of giants. We wouldn't be here. We're only 2.5 years into delivering program, but we wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of you and the other programs around the country. Without any apology, we call and ask questions of so many communities we have since the beginning, and we've learned so much. And it is such a sharing organization. Sharon said, I heard at the national conference back in Indianapolis this last week, probably the most heard comment or follow-up comment was, wow, I've never been to a seminar where everyone was on the same page, were this passionate about what we're doing, and was willing to share so freely. So I link that to our tagline because I think together as a movement, as a Bridges movement, we are truly changing lives and inspiring futures. The Omaha experience by the numbers. Well, I'm a retired CPA and a healthcare consultant, so I love numbers, of course. When we started this journey, excuse me, I think I'm also trying to get a cold, but that might have something to do with the fact that in Omaha it was 90 degrees on Monday and 43 degrees this morning, which just keeps it interesting. We have approximately 940,000 people in the metro area, and we decided, because we like big goals, that we'd take on the whole metro area to start this little organization. There's 100,000 people living in poverty, and when we discovered that fact, we said this is completely inexcusable, it's completely unacceptable. There's enough resources in this community to make a major change in that. So we kind of took a top-down approach. We looked at 3 things when we addressed this poverty issue in our community. First thing we said was, what's the size of the problem? And the census data revealed what we show there on the slide. Then the next thing was, is there a solution? And I really thought as I was looking at this on my own that we were going to have to write our own curriculum. Fortunately, Sharon and I are friends and sing in the same church choir. She's my sister, really. And she said, well, if you're going to work on poverty, Roger, you need to look at Ruby Payne's work and Phil Duvall's work, because I'm actually teaching Getting Ahead at a shelter here in Omaha. And when I did, I discovered that, and the whole organization discovered that this was a solution because it's the most effective solution out there and it's used in so many communities. So the next thing we did was just one more thing, is we just literally jumped in our vehicles and went visiting. We visited all the service agencies in the communities to make sure we weren't duplicating something that was already being done. And indeed, we really weren't. This was a need here in the Omaha Council Bluffs community. So we launched, and well, we kind of like big goals. One author said at one time, the goals help us focus, big goals inspire us. So, and we often lose an audience when I make this next statement. I said, we're going to try to get, after we ramp up, we're going to try to get 50,000 people out of poverty in the next 10 years. and they look at you kind of funny when you say that. But I'll tell you, there's a little secret to that when we get to one of the next slides here. The other thing we decided to do was divide and conquer. Well, certainly dividing or being divisive, we have had about enough of that in this country, but we mean this in a good way. As you know, people that are living in poverty have an issue with transportation. So we simply decided to go where the people were and deliver the classes in every quadrant of the city, of the metro area. We kind of have a natural division. Omaha is kind of an accumulation and merger of a lot of small cities, if you will, over the years. And so we have kind of a natural division. So we divided the Omaha Council Bluffs area into 8 areas. And then within each sub-community, we find now that it's kind of verified our original hypothesis, and that is there's individual issues in each sub-community. There's individual organizations, different Kiwanis clubs, different Optimist clubs, different YMCAs, different Salvation Army facilities, and so forth. So it's worked very well for us. There's even some unique leadership in each of those sub-communities because they were previously a political subdivision, if you will. We actually have one amazing sub-community that has a separate steering team of 29 members. We were telling someone that at the Chamber of Commerce, and they said, well, how's that working for you? 29 people on a board. And my chairman of that steering team, she said, well, pretty darn well. We have 80% attendance. And they've been phenomenal. What they're doing in that community is just amazing. I think I mentioned on the last slide that getting 50,000 people out of poverty doesn't really mean getting 50,000 people out. The secret is we believe, and this is just our approach again, that if we can get about 27,000 working age adults, 18 to 65, out of poverty, or help them get themselves out of poverty, as we know, we'll pull the children and youth out, and we'll also have enough funds if we reinvest a small portion, perhaps as little as 20% of the welfare savings. We can also lift out the seniors, the disabled, and the chronically ill. So that's kind of our target, is 25 to 27,000 working age adults over the next 10 years after we ramp up. So what's our business model? It gets more complex as we go along, but what we found was we really needed to focus initially on 4 things. The 4 things we needed to deliver a successful program, and you know there's more than this, but these were the keys, and we need to keep these in balance. We're investigators, facilitators, partners, and funding. And what we did is we got out of balance for a while. Initially, we were really short on facilitators, weren't we, Sharon?
Yeah, that was a challenge.
That was a challenge. The partners, we did a good job. We had a wonderful man that was with us for a season, the founder of the Omaha Street School, Mr. John Parsons, who's an amazing man. And John had relationships throughout the community because he founded and led the Omaha Street School for a number of years. And he really got us out in the community. So he had lots of partners. I fell a little behind and probably still am on funding because Sharon's doing such a great job with the program, but we're trying to keep those 4 things in balance as we move forward. So who's your most important customer? I don't really think about that a lot, but one of our marketing advisors who heads up one of the marketing divisions at Mutual of Omaha Corporation said, who's your most important customer? Or who are your customers you're trying to reach when we looked at marketing plans? And after we thought about it a while, they're all very important, but I've always thought in my career that your most important customer is your employee. You need to hire well, you need to pay well, you need to support them. Even if a client or a customer raises an issue with a staff member, we try to support them on the outside and then solve the problem on the inside. Fortunately, we've been very blessed with outstanding people. About a year ago, we were meeting with another nonprofit that's much larger than we are here in town and just developing a collaborative relationship. And they're quite frankly really struggling. And I had the board chair there, and I had their executive director there, and their incoming executive director. And they asked the question, something, why do you think this has changed from what it was a couple of years ago? And one of the questions we asked was, what are you paying your staff? And they told us, and I said, I think part of your problem is you're not paying enough. Of course, when you're in a budget crisis, that's the last thing you want to hear. So we try to find the best, and when we find talent, we try to pay them well. We do Gallup Strengths Finder assessment on all of our staff. And we do that so we can identify their strengths and put them in the right spot at the right time and better understand how to communicate and work with each other on a daily basis. And then we're very fortunate, if you're familiar with the StrengthsFinder assessment, we have several people on the team that have it positivity, including Sharon's husband, Dr. Carl Jackson. And they just keep this place humming with jokes and fun and dances. Well, I won't go all there. So anyway, but our next most important partner is our community partners, or our most important customer. Excuse me. Our community partners are critical to our success. We currently have about 120 community partners, and those are made up of largely of service agencies and nonprofits, but also businesses, churches, etc. Community partners are so important to us because of all they provide. They provide the referrals of individual investigators. They provide space, sometimes food, sometimes childcare, and several of our community partners actually pay us the direct costs of delivering a Getting Ahead cohort. So we really try to pay a lot of attention to them. When you see our management structure, you'll see that we have a team devoted to our community partners. Our investigators certainly should be our most important customer, but if we don't have the partners to get them in here or the staff to serve them, and we do, our investigators, Sharon will refer to this in her comments, we try to treat them like our most important customer. We try to provide concierge type service to them. Some of our investigators, just like you, have not been treated that well at various times during their life. And so we try to feed them well and have them in good surroundings and take good care of them and take good care of their children. And last but not least is our funders. We have a successful delivery model here in Omaha, I believe. And now we just need to seek a lot more funding so that we can grow this out and scale up. It seems like it's very scalable at this point in time. What's our management structure? I only point this out, kind of a boring slide, I guess, but just to show you how we're operating. And if this is helpful to you, fine. If not, you do need to do it your way. Throw it over your shoulder, that's good. We basically have kind of 4 departments, if you will. The most important is Sharon in the program department, because that's our big deliverable, supported by life skills coaching. Early on, we decided we weren't just going to give someone a Getting Ahead graduation certificate and say, goodbye, it's nice knowing you. And I don't think many of the communities are doing that. So we implemented a position called life skills coach. We have 2 of those now. We'll have many more as the years evolve. One's bilingual, which helps us because our Latino classes or Spanish-speaking classes are just growing geometrically for us. We have 3 programs: Getting Ahead, Getting Going, which is the life skills coaches, and then Staying Ahead, which is our alumni association, to continue lifelong learning and have that fellowship with like-minded individuals. You know what it looks like to see graduates and how enthused they are. Get them all in the same room. They tell great stories. You can just sit back, listen, and enjoy the future stories of folks that were really struggling. Our community coordinators connect with our partners on a regular basis, and they also provide the service of providing all the resources that our Getting Ahead facilitators need. So space, technology, food, childcare, enrollment. Most of our Getting Ahead facilitators are full-time employees in some other social service agency, not in all cases, but in most. And so when they come to us to deliver a class, yes, they have preparation time, certainly their certification and all that, and training and ongoing continuing education that Sharon will talk about. But we need to have a turnkey where they can literally walk in. We'd like to have them at enrollment so they meet the people, the investigators. But after that, they need to have all their needs met. And our community coordinators do an amazing job of that. And then finally, administration. More numbers, here we go from the accountant. Wow. In order for us to, I'm going to shorten this one, in order for us to achieve our big, hairy, audacious goal of getting 50,000 people out of poverty in the next 10 years, or helping 25 to 27,000 working age adults lift themselves out of poverty, we have to get to the point when we are ramped up, basically of having 25 cohorts per year, which basically means that we need to have 7 or 8 concurrent classes in each of the 8 quadrants of the metropolitan area. In order to do this, this is going to take about 100, well, Sharon's going to pass out at this point, but about 100 certified facilitators, and there's a lot of good things going on there. Yeah, we're still ramping up and much to learn, but we're excited about the future. So where are we going to get all those facilitators? Believe me, we've asked ourselves those questions since day one. We ask it over and over and over. To cut to the chase, the thing that's been the most successful for us is we deliver Bridges Out of Poverty community workshops. We do it in a setting, we've kind of landed on a number, and part of it's the size of the room, 80 to 100 people at a time. You'll have people from churches, from businesses, from government, from social service agencies. And when we deliver a community workshop for 3 hours on a Friday afternoon, we typically get 10 to 12 facilitator candidates. And that's just been tremendous for us. We do know that we need to continue to evolve, though. We're starting to talk about that now. Even though that's been successful, we believe we may saturate that market or that strategy in the near future. So we're looking at new ways to attract those. We've thought about the colleges. We do have some concerns about life experience and emotional maturity. So we probably would use more non-traditional students in that case. We have a policy now that we really try to not let anyone facilitate until they've co-facilitated for an entire 10-week getting ahead cohort. This gives them a chance to really see how an experienced facilitator works, and to if they happen to be a getting ahead graduate, to re-experience it from the facilitator side, and then they're ready to go out and fly solo or learn with another co-facilitator. There's a lot of benefits to having a co-facilitator in the class too. When you get down to setting SMART goals at the end of the class, 2 is hardly enough in the room to help a cohort of 10, 12, or 14 individuals write their SMART goals. So it's really important to have 2. If you have if you have an absence of the facilitator, the really cool thing is you aren't bringing someone into the room that's a stranger. You have someone that's been there as a co-facilitator every step of the way. And finally, if you have conflict, we really hadn't had a lot of conflict until second quarter of this year. Interestingly, within the same quarter, we had 2 cohorts where people almost got, not quite to fists, but they had some verbal assaults back and forth. But our trained facilitators and co-facilitators in some cases took them out of the room, gathered it all back together, and by the time of graduation, they were a family and doing well together. We pay our facilitators, our lead facilitators, an hour, the times that they're in class, plus an hour for every hour they're in class. And we pay the co-facilitators just for the time that they're actually in class. So what have we accomplished so far? Well, by the end of the year, in 2.5 years, we'll have nearly 400 graduates. We have 10 concurrent cohorts in the fourth quarter, which is a management challenge, but it's really also very, very exciting across the metro. We have a 91% graduation rate, thanks to our amazing facilitators. And we continue to track all the metrics. We reassess our graduates approximately every 3 months after graduation. We didn't really want to leave them out there any longer than 3 months. We felt if we left them out there 6 months, we might not have contact with them anymore. So we give them a small gift card. They come in and they reassess, and they like to come in personally and tell their stories. So we're seeing that they're changing their net cash flow within 3 to 18 months after graduation by $1,500 per month, which is almost unimaginable to me, but it's amazing. I presented to a business on Monday morning, and the director of HR said, "Could you repeat that?" She could not believe. She had helped her sister get out of poverty. She could not believe that they could change in that short of time, make that kind of change in their income. And using the Bridges metrics, or the getting ahead metrics, we're seeing an average reduction in debt to income ratio of 67%. We currently track all that in Charity Tracker, which, as you know, has a template that just mirrors the getting ahead assessments, and that's been very good for us. What's the economic impact? If we were successful, my board says when we're successful at getting 25,000 working age adults out of poverty, that would increase if they went from the federal poverty level of $24,000 or $25,000 a year for a family of 4 to say $45,000, because now they're electricians or plumbers or nurses or web coders. That would increase our gross domestic product, or our incomes in Omaha, by $500 million, and could reflect the savings in welfare benefits from the government of nearly $700 million. So if we were successful, or when we're successful, it'll have $1 billion a year impact on our economy. And as Ruby has shown with a major study, and we echo that with some calculations we've done here, for every dollar spent on getting ahead, there's a 20-to-1 return to the community. Next up is Sharon Jackson, our programming director. If you like Italian food, she's looking at me like, what? You know that in every good Italian restaurant, what makes things good is their secret sauce. Well, Sharon, our program director, is our secret sauce. Go ahead, sis.
Oh boy, what a build-up. Well, thank you, Roger. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the strategy we use for our programming. So Dr. Phil Duvall laid a foundation in which Omaha Bridges could build upon. My husband, he plays the bass guitar. He speaks about how the bass and the drum are the anchor of the band. And so Phil, in my opinion, is the bassist.
Yeah.
And the drum is AHA process. From these foundational pieces, Omaha Bridges has joined this movement with our own genre. So a style that sways the audience we work to engage. None of what we do is new. It's an extension of what you'll find in the original materials, right? There's a lesson plan in the facilitator notes book. We simply tune it to our own style. It is the pursuit of excellence that drives and fuels what we do, and it requires a team effort. So our facilitators, currently, we talked about how we get our facilitator pool. It's made up of 37 certified facilitators, of which 10 are bilingual and 13 are graduates. We have facilitators who are certified in our rules, getting ahead while getting out, emotional poverty, bridges out of poverty, workplace stability, and also getting ahead while at work. So we simply follow the curriculum. We set up our GA workshops. They are 2 weeks in length, but we use 2 different methods in which to accomplish that. They will either meet twice a week for 2.5 hours at a time, or once a week for 4 hours. During that time process, we invite in our social capital speakers who are their bridging capital. They come in after the second week, and they're there to help them identify what are truly getting ahead resources in the community. So we're talking about like Habitat for Humanity, Operation Hope for Financial Recovery, and SCORE, which is an entrepreneur program. The goal is for us to minimize the workshop mechanics that allow the facilitators to focus on the content and the group cohesion. Lesson plans, I provide those. They contain hyperlinks to websites with the most current data, offering information that is county and community specific. Those links and other links for videos, you would find those actually in the workbook appendix. There are different videos that we will use from time to time that bring more relevance based on the makeup of the group, culturally and community-based. Facilitators, they're expected to stay true to the curriculum's concepts and constructs. Ultimately, understanding their place at the table is to help participants facilitate their own learning. They're not there to impart wisdom or knowledge, but rather to learn from the experience of those around the table as it relates to the material that's being presented. But you guys already know this, right? So, more specific to what we do, we offer a facilitator cohort workshop. In that workshop, the idea is to maintain our reputation that we've built as a delivery of programming to date. And the goal is to maintain the program's integrity through an established set of practices while upholding OBOP's core values in the community. So we look for individuals who are committed to the mission and that want to do this work with excellence and integrity. So we present an 8-hour workshop, normally takes place on a Saturday. We require all hands on deck. So everyone takes a role in those workshops of the staff. We look to emulate the GA experience by setting up the workshop so it's done kitchen table style, and then offering concierge service. So they're experiencing a workshop just the way the participants would, and we take them through part of the curriculum like a participant, offering up best practices. We also spend that time looking at and reviewing what we call the pathway to facilitation. The goal is to outline the depth and the breadth of the commitment that they're about to make and embark on should they choose to move forward in the process. It's important for them to understand that in good faith, we have an expectation of those that we certify through AHA. And so we want to make sure, even though it's not legally binding, that they have an opportunity and they agree to co-facilitate a group in preparation for carrying out a lead facilitator role within their certification time period. So facilitators are at the cohort training. Again, it's full day. We talk about their role, group cohesion, cultural humility, boundaries. We talk about participants have an opportunity to hear from current and past facilitators so that they can share their experiences with the curriculum and in the workshop setting. We also will give them an initial introduction and overview to some of the activities and taking them through those as participants and then getting their feedback on that. We introduce them to the facilitator tools that have been developed by OBOP. We house those in the cloud so that they're accessible to the facilitators no matter where they're located and based on what site they're working out of. But I'll give you more details about that later. There's preparation is key, right? Preparation sets the expectation for their role as future facilitators. We do that here in that first workshop. I ask facilitators to spend time preparing for each of their sessions. So I emulate that behavior and that action as an example for them to follow. I truly believe that we set the narrative for them in that first training workshop. The preparation that we put into that initial introduction is meant to help them become fully aware of the commitment that they're making based on time and the excellence in service delivery they need to be a member of this team. Roger mentioned before, we take them through strength finders, and so we do a little activity during our workshop. It's a strengths scavenger hunt, so they're looking for people with strengths unlike their own so that they can better identify how to work with one another to leverage that strength out of their co-facilitator. And then the modules are basically done based on best practices. So what makes a great facilitator? I'm glad you asked. At our last facilitator cohort, we started to develop a SMART goal so that we could identify what it would mean and what it would look like to be an extraordinary facilitator. So through some of the reading that I've done, I've read some of the tenets of Unlocking the Magic of Facilitation by Kellerman and Bolger. They state that the facilitator has low power and influence over what is being learned. And that's the tenets of getting ahead. We need to be intentionally involving participants in their own learning. Facilitators, in my opinion, are like air traffic controllers, right? So discussions come into the atmosphere of the air around their tower. The facilitator makes the decision whether that topic will land for discussion at the table. If it doesn't relate to what we're talking about, then that facilitator needs to acknowledge it, but allow that discussion topic to fly outside of its airspace. And so with that in mind, There's additional support that we provide them.
Mhm.
The goal is to make sure that they're prepared. Preparation, preparation, preparation. We want them to be, and they get compensated for being prepared to come into a workshop.
Yes.
So Roger mentioned that they get compensated for preparation time, but that's also for the reporting end of what they do. We track all of the data and they're accountable for helping us to track that. This all further supports the practice of providing each of the facilitators with the tools that they need, like lesson plans, updated data links, selections of relevant videos, and more. It's because they're not doing most of the talking that they need to focus on how to tie the concepts and the constructs to what is being poured out of the participants, right?
Yes.
So listening is paramount. It opens the door to validation, and more important, it allows the facilitator to learn, to understand, and to enrich the relationship. So facilitators are given enough leverage to be creative, though,
Mhm.
to invoke all of the above that's natural for them.
Right.
Okay? So we give them an opportunity for ongoing development, which is really important. We're hoping to launch a new endeavor at the end of the month called Facilitator Chat Cafe. At that venue, facilitators have an opportunity to come on site and sit around the kitchen table with us to talk about best practices and work through some of the challenges of facilitating a cohort. We will have a primary topic and we will have a secondary topic that's selected by the majority of those participating. They can join us live or they can join us via video conferencing.
Very nice.
If they're not able to get in. And then it will be recorded so that if other facilitators can listen in. And that's, again, part of that development process.
That's just like the Getting Ahead cohorts.
Oh, exactly.
50% of the learning comes from the curriculum and 50% comes from the people around the table.
There you go.
Good
You
work,
got it.
sis.
You got this. Okay, so video monitoring is also done to help facilitators in the development process. So in other words, we take a little recording camera and place it in the actual Getting Ahead workshops. And I go into each workshop at the beginning to introduce that process so that our participants are comfortable with why the camera is there and why we're recording. And they understand that we are looking not to invade their privacy, but so that I can see and the programming staff can support ongoing development for the facilitators. And so again, striving for a level of excellence. There's debriefing sessions. We have those during the workshop. Facilitator might have an incident happen, like what you mentioned before, and they are able to call in and talk through that or come in for a visit. And then after the workshop is completed, we do a debriefing after to just talk about what went well, other development opportunities, and if moving forward, how I can better support them.
We want to do that same thing with our partners too. We want to debrief after we've had a cohort at their partners' locations, give them the chance to tell us what went well and what we can do better, because we can learn so much from our other community service agencies and businesses.
Absolutely. So that's the feedback that we look for. We're looking for it on multiple levels. So we use a module evaluation. The participants fill out a module evaluation at the end of every module. In that evaluation, they can communicate back to the main office something that they're learning that ignites them. Then something that there was either discussed or that they learned that they can invoke into their lives right away. We want to know what that is. And we also want to know if they want to know more information about any of the program content. And so we're able to identify that. In the evaluation, they also have an opportunity to evaluate the facilitators. So they're evaluating them on the clarity of information that's delivered, cultural appropriateness, time management and other things. And I believe that a person's how they feel when they come into a workshop, it changes each day. And so they have little emojis on the bottom of their evaluations where they can tell us whether they were sad that day, tired or sleepy or sick. And so that gives us insight into their behaviors or maybe why they were not as responsive to the materials. And so that's always helpful. The debriefing that you mentioned, yes, we have the agency site partners debriefing. I often go with the community coordinators to do that debriefing just to find out if the program met their expectations. What can we do better next time? Were we a good partner? And hopefully we'll get an invite for another session, right? And then the facilitators, we debrief at the end. So I spend time with them talking about, again, what worked well for them. So our community coordinators, they kind of have their hands on the pulse of our community partners. And then they're constantly feeding that back to the entire team. And that's very helpful so that we can keep those relationships at that prime level. That's the goal. And then our life skills coach, oh my gosh, we couldn't work without them. They are the heartbeat of our graduates and even our current participants. They make themselves available throughout the entire process of the workshop. Participants know that they can come in and leverage their expertise, identifying resources in the community to get started on a SMART goal or anything that they might need. And then they're constantly reaching out to them for those updated assessments at 3 and 6 months so that we know how well we're progressing and the impact that we're having on those who are participating. So, facilitator resources. We provide a binder to our facilitators. All of our resources are currently housed on Dropbox, and facilitators can access them at any time. It includes lesson plans, module by module, folders with handouts, printed assessments, a document tracking form. We need to make sure that we're getting all of the data that we need to create the client record and charity tracker, and then all of those assessments. So if they are missing anything, those tracking documents are housed on the cloud, and they can check to see what documents we are missing for the individuals within their workshop. And then there are tools like techniques and tips that I put out there, videos, links to documents that, what is a good facilitator?
There we go.
That kind of thing. All right, so lessons learned. Oh my gosh, we learned a lot of lessons. One of them was that we needed to create a pathway for facilitation for our graduates. Our graduates are oftentimes still in a level of instability after graduation. And we found that with that level of instability, they were not always present. So now all of the graduates know that in order to be on the path to facilitation, they need 1 year of stability under their belt. What does that mean? That means checking back in with the life skills coach, following up on their assessments, demonstrating that they're truly using the tools and the techniques that they learned in the Getting Ahead workshop. So that's demonstrated for us, and then we can put them on that pathway. How do we build our facilitator pool? We already talked about that in the Bridges workshop. And so we invite people in at that point and just give them, an outline of what that looks like. And then there's the ongoing engagement through the life skills coaching. I spoke to that. And then graduates.
Yes.
They're a great referral source. The very best. So they share their experiences and they send other people as potential candidates for the workshop. So we offer a referral bonus to them. If the person they refer stays in the workshop beyond module 3, they'll receive a $25 incentive. This referral is put in charity tracker under a goal for relationship and role model, and just sharing their knowledge and tracking that they're working on that resource as well. Future plans. Building capacity, and I'm going to read just what's on the screen because that's what we're doing. We're providing process and tools for resolving both current and future gaps between vision and reality. Yes. Sometimes there's a little disconnect. So we want to merge the two together. We want to make sure that all of our processes are documented. We're looking at an ERN or something like an ERN. Mm-hmm. And then we're looking to extend our programming based on the demands of our alumni. They would like a financial literacy program. We don't want to duplicate what's out in the community already, but there is an opportunity to get some CRA support. So absolutely, we're looking at that. And then an employer has asked us to step in into getting ahead in the workplace.
Yes, just met with someone on Monday and they're very excited about that. And you can marry that with an ERN or something like an ERN, and I think that has a multiplier effect for the employer in terms of decreasing absenteeism and decreasing turnover, and they're excited about that.
Absolutely.
They're just excited about providing an opportunity for their employees to have a better life. Yes. Very altruistic. First major manufacturing company that stepped up. We're pretty excited about that.
Yes. Yes. All righty then.
Questions and answers.
Woohoo!
What do we have up here, Sharon?
Oh, let's see. I never thought about video recording. You
might comment on that, too.
Well, the video recording, I do a couple of video recordings. We do record in the session so that I can help facilitators with their development, but I also provide video recordings that are for each module just to help facilitators marry the facilitator notes to the curriculum. There are a lot of nuances that can get missed, and I'm just highlighting those for the facilitators and driving home some really key concepts and helping them with some more insight based on my own personal experience with the curriculum.
That sounds good. Any other questions out there? You type them in on the box.
This is Ruth Wyrick.
Yes.
Hey, and I, as an organizer, I can't type in on the questions, but fabulous work. I am amazed at the detail and the organization that you have put into place to make this successful. And what a great testimony to all communities out there on how to implement this and make it work. And I really, really appreciate you're taking the time to put this together. And I see that Corrine is typing, but I just, while that was happening, I wanted to put that out there and say nicely done to Omaha, to OMBOP, to OBOP. Is that it?
OBOP, yes, that's us. Thank you, Ruth. That means a lot.
Ruth, we appreciate all your help. You're amazing, girl. I have all kinds of questions. One's typing, so we'll go to the next one. It says, John says, describe a typical facilitator. Are they primarily retirees? How do facilitators balance going through curriculum and having speakers? We've struggled to balance that.
Yes. Oh, good questions.
Yeah.
So the primary facilitators, they come from, actually, they're a very diverse group. We get people who are currently working at different agencies. They can come in different shapes and sizes. So people who are younger or middle age and older. One of my strongest challenges sometimes are with teachers. Because they're so used to imparting knowledge, sometimes find it hard to sit back and allow the participants to process and own their own development and their own experience with the materials. Balancing social capital speakers, I agree, that can be a challenge, but I make it very clear when I invite those partners in that they are limited to a 30-minute presentation. We have a couple people who will do an hour presentation, and that's built into the 10 weeks and into the lesson plans. And so the facilitators have to help manage that. We get some presenters that are very enthusiastic
Yes.
and want to share a lot of information. And then all of the questions that come after. That's probably the hardest part. But I always tell my presenters that you just want to tantalize their palate. You don't want to give them the whole enchilada, right? So get them to really be intrigued and then reach out now that they know them and contact them for more information or so that they can participate in their program.
We've really had some good results with our social capital speakers that Sharon and everyone on the team has put together and connected. They're excited about the program and how lives are being changed. We've seen a couple of people get habitat houses, several people with the retired executives, the SCORE program, starting new businesses. That's really exciting. And that really excites our businesses, business partners, and our funders to see people actually start new businesses and employ other folks. And just a ton of different things. We had one person that went in and became a web coder. Another person, several people have been led to healthcare through that. In fact, we have 2 healthcare competing organizations in town that are working at this right now to put together a healthcare only cohort, which will be designated to add more social capital in that area, and actually all the graduates hopefully offered an internship if they're interested immediately after the Getting Ahead class, a paid internship.
Yeah.
What else do we have here, Sharon?
So Corinne asked if I would be willing to share the lesson plan. Like I said before, it's actually in the facilitator's notes. I just advance it and put hyperlinks inside the lesson plan. It's a generic plan, and the facilitators know that they need to oftentimes hone it, meaning that if it's allowed 30 minutes, which are in the books for a given activity, that if it goes a little longer, again, they're the air traffic controllers, but if their discussion is advancing what is being shared and those concepts are being further drawn out, they might allow a little more time. So then they would have to adjust the lesson plan and know where they could cut back a little bit.
Right.
But I don't have a problem sharing my lesson plan. It came right out of the book. It's just, yeah, sure. If you give me an email, I don't know how I would get that.
Send it to our website and you can go through administrative.
Oh, there you go. You could go, oh, and I didn't mention that. May I? I want to share that the assessments that our facilitators or our graduates do, we talked about getting them at 3 and 6 month intervals. Individuals who are updating their assessments, once contacted, they have the option of coming into the main office and filling those out manually. They can use a computer while they're here, or they can go online to our website, and there is an area on our website strictly for alumni where they are giving an access code, and they can go in and enter in their assessment updates right there on our website. Beautiful feature.
Someone mentioned retirees. We thought initially we'd have a lot of volunteer facilitators. I'm not sure this sounds terrible if we really want that. You know how it is with volunteers, it's a different management style. When we're actually paying someone, we have the ability to set expectations, I think, and get things done a little more efficiently. So we're happy to pay our facilitators because it's a good investment in delivering an excellent work product.
I think a lot of what we offer by way of our facilitators is we set a very clear expectation. And the expectation is that they will model the behaviors and the same things we would hold our program participants to. So we pay our participants to take our workshop. What we're paying them for is for the knowledge that they share around the table. If they're not here, they can't share. So then it's deducted out of their stipend. Facilitators are expected to be at every workshop. When they are not, they have to follow the same agreement on the attendance as the participants. So if you're allowed 2 absences or 3 absences, the facilitator cannot miss more sessions than a participant. Because again, we want to make it an equal field at the table. So to treat facilitators differently sends the wrong message.
Yes. With respect to the stipend, we make a lot of adjustments. We're a learning organization. We have a 2-hour staff meeting every Wednesday morning from 9 to 11 where the whole team gathers as long as we can until the team gets too big. It's only 8 of us right now on the core staff. And one of the decisions we made recently that I think is going to be good for us, I'll just share it with you, is we pay a $300 stipend, prorated based on attendance.
Yes.
And we decided to pay a $250 stipend, and you get the other $50 gift card when you come in for your first meeting with your life skills coach.
Yes.
We have a good result of people coming in, more than 50%, but we'd like to increase that. And we think that extra $50 gift card may just get them in the door. And so we can help them get out of their own way and be even more successful.
I'm looking at our questions again. Do you pay facilitators for delivery of the entire course or on hourly basis? Actually, it's contracted for the 10-week period. Some of those sessions are not concurrent. So for lead facilitators, there is a cap.
There's a cap. So we have a flat amount we pay them, and it's based on $20 per hour. So a lead facilitator, depending on the number of classes, would earn between $2,000 and $2,400. We don't do it on an hourly basis where they report actual hours, because some people could take 30 hours to prepare and others. So we estimated what we thought was fair. And we actually find that a lot of our people who have other jobs think this is the best paying job that they have, and they're incredible people. So far it's working. If you want to ask that question on our website, and we'll send you our one-page facilitator compensation policy. There was one right below that too.
Could you share a bit about your current funding sources?
Oh, yes. That's been a challenge, but because you have to deliver. So we decided we had some individuals that funded our initial startup, and then we're just like everyone else, we're going to the major foundations and building out our giving tree. One of the communities has 2 large foundations, and they got behind us in a big way, one $100,000 a year and another $200,000 a year for 3 years. And the health systems and the banks in that community also ponied up for a 3-year commitment. They've been wonderful to us. Otherwise, it's just a combination of corporations, foundations, and individuals. And one of our next hires is going to be a development director. We're kind of doing that as a leadership team right now, and I'm spending a lot of my time on that. It's very numbers oriented, so good for a bean counter to be doing that, particularly these grant applications. Once you have the results and you're tracking it in Charity Tracker, you can really say we're so close. It's pretty safe to say that Getting Ahead and Bridges are evidence-based. If they really ask, you can send them a copy of the University of Indiana study and the study that was done at Notre Dame. And those are just amazing. And if you go to the last page of each of those 30+ page studies or reports, you can quote the conclusion paragraphs and sentences in your grant applications. And that really takes them over the top, but not as well as meeting with your donors before you ever ask. Meet with your donors when you're not asking for any money, develop a relationship and listen to them. And when you do, if you have the capability of taking a graduate with you, that'll seal the deal.
Okay. No additional questions. We've got, what, about 8 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds right. 7 minutes, and we can wrap up early if we need to. Anything else? We thank you for participating today, and good luck out there. We'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers, and feel free to go to our website. There's an administrative email on that, and we'll get it to the right person. We have this amazing young lady that's our program coordinator, and she gets everything to us so quickly. The best 22-year-old I've ever hired in my entire life, so we're very excited about Kendra. She's our other secret sauce. Thank you so much for participating today.
All right, thank you. Did we give them the website?
Thanks, Roger and Sharon, for sharing your expertise. We really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you out there that attended the webinar today. We appreciate all the ways each of you stabilize individuals in your community. We know that many of you are using Getting Ahead as a program to shift the future stories of individuals. Bridges Out of Poverty is the book and training for professionals in your community. Getting Ahead takes the Bridges information and frames it in a concrete way for individuals living in poverty to investigate. The process allows for an investigator to decide for themselves what changes they would like to make in their lives. For more information about Bridges and Getting Ahead, contact Lynn Jackson. Her email is ljackson@ahaprocess.com. More information is always located on the AHA website at ahaprocess.com, including research studies about the effectiveness of getting ahead. So we appreciate again your time today, and thanks so much. And until next time, have a great day, everyone.